Hi, I'm Joe. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. This is the ultimate love letter, and thank you for joining the conversation. I want to get right into the inspiration that has just come over me today as I have found myself just knee deep in a book that I've been writing, that I've been wanting to write for the past 3 years, and God has just offered up this creative and tranquil space that I find myself in today. And so it is what happens when we yield to God's will. It is what happens when we collaborate with the Most High. As I'm writing, I'm realizing that God has had in his palm this whole time such a grand and wondrous and fulfilling and explosive plan for my life, just like he does for yours. Now, my life is beautiful. It's filled with joy and plenty of play and tremendous peace. But as I'm recounting my travels through the years, my heartaches, my suffering, my pain, the growth that needed to take place, as I am recalling this and documenting it in this book that I am collaborating with God on, I see God had a plan the whole time. And I know that we know this to be true. We know God has a plan for our life. We hear it all the time. But do we really grasp what that means? Do we really understand that just like we sit down to write a business plan, our 5-year plan, God has written for us an exquisite plan, one that you don't even comprehend. You don't even have the creativity to sit down and think out yourself. If you had 1,000 lifetimes, you wouldn't be able to do it the way God has it written out. And if we only allow ourselves to get out of our own damn way and allow God to take us on the journey, we will find that he has for us the most angelic joyride of our life. He wants to collaborate with you. Just like we would sit down and daydream about what content creators we want to collaborate with, what celebrities, what business moguls that we would love to collaborate with us, with each other. Can we contemplate, can we even fathom the idea of what it would look like to collaborate with the divine artist, the one that has created this world and every living thing inside of it? I don't know if we grasp that. I don't know. I certainly know the majority of us have not grasped that. And as I'm sitting down to put pen to paper and just think back on just the last few years, not even a lifetime, just the last 3 years, I am like, OMG, God, you have been preparing me the entire time. One step quite literally has led to the next. And so what I want to share right now is just a sliver of the collaboration between God and I. And it's something that's visible to you, our listeners. It is the collaboration that is our logo of the ultimate love letter. It is the part of the book that I'm at right now. I didn't even realize until yesterday that I would even talk about the ultimate love letter and the podcast and how it was built. I didn't even think about that because in my mind, that's not the direction the book was going to go, but it has quite literally led there. And when I'm thinking about it, of course it would lead there. It's a part of my journey. It's a part of God, what God does when we yield up to Him. So when I spoke about this a bit before, the name, The Ultimate Love Letter, came to me right now about like 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago now. And it came to me as I was getting ready to embark on a trip to the Maldives, a trip that God was sending me on to connect me to the ocean. He was showing me how my lifestyle, my vegan diet, how it impacts the world, starting with the ocean. That was clear as day, the message. And a week before I was going there, He gave me, just dropped in my head, the name, The Ultimate Love Letter. And He said, this is the name you will do my works under. Now, I didn't know what that meant. I just knew that, okay, God, you said it. I got it. I'm going to secure it. I'm going to hold on to it. When the time comes and you reveal the next steps, I know I'll have the name. So immediately as I set out to just create, blog sites and email addresses and social media sites, the name, The Ultimate Love Letter, because that's what I heard, The Ultimate Love Letter, was available on all platforms except for one, YouTube. And I thought, okay, God, I heard you right. You said the ultimate love letter, but this is not normally how God works. Like if He gives you inspired action to take, as you take it, you may be met with obstacles, sure, challenges, absolutely, and there's ways to get around them. But a down outright blockage, like a name that's completely taken by I don't know who, like it was just a block. And I said, okay, God, so did I hear you right? Is it the ultimate love letter? I need all the accounts to be uniformed with this name, not just some, but all of them. In that very moment, it's like a thought dropped in my head and said, try the, THEE. And as I typed in The Ultimate Love Letter, it was like fluorescent green check marks went off. Every single site had the name available. And I knew then I had misheard God a little bit from The Ultimate Love Letter to The Ultimate Love Letter. And so it was ours. And isn't that how God works, right? Like He wanted to make sure I got it right immediately before we went too far into creating whatever the ultimate love letter would become. And I think about the word the, right? As in the most high, as in the ultimate. Like, of course, it was the and never the. So that's just a little backstory on how we got our name, The Ultimate Love Letter. Now, speed ahead, many, many months later, my beautiful man, now I've met him, and he was like some sense of urgency to create a logo. And again, I didn't understand why we needed a logo. I knew, of course, one day I would need a logo, but he just had an urgency about it. He was like, you need a logo. I'm going to hook you up with a graphic designer. We got to get the logo. So I went with it, right? I go with the flow. So as I sat down with this designer and I was just letting him know, my passion is to impact the world. My passion is to live in harmony and in reverence with all living beings, animals, weather, insects, humans, like it all, our planet. And so with that, we sketched up a logo of like a heart-shaped earth surrounded by animals. And we went back and forth for weeks, adjusting this image. It just was never quite right. Never. And I kind of just left it. I got discouraged and I was like, you know what? It didn't feel aligned. And so I let it be. I'm not forcing anything. So as I let it be, as I released it, right? Not trying to force like, okay, I need a logo and it's got to be right and it's got to be perfect. I just let it go. Like, doesn't feel right. This is not the time. As I did that and I just went about my daily activities in life, I began to see the same image almost daily. It was a silhouette type image. And even though I saw it, it was like something within me was prompting me to take a deeper look. It's like I say I see it with my third eye. You just don't understand how things are highlighted, but in my mind, it was highlighted. And so I noticed it, but I didn't understand what it was about the image. I was just noticing it. Then one day, my beautiful girlfriend came over to visit, and she brought with her a small gift for me. It was a candle. As I unwrapped it, the image was the same image I had been seeing almost every day. It was the silhouette of a woman with curly hair, bushy hair, a bushy fro, but just the outline of her. And I just thought, and I told her, I finally said it out loud outside of my body. I had to hear it for myself outside of my own mind. I said, oh my goodness, I've been seeing this image for what felt like several weeks, if not months at this point. And as I lit that candle night after night, the image just glowed from the flicker of the candle. And again, I just noticed it. A few days later, I had finished up meditation and I had just felt led to draw from my Goddess Oracle deck. Just one card for the day to kind of just motivate me, to set me off for the day ahead. You know how that goes. And so as I drew the single card, my eyes immediately landed on the image of that card. And it was the picture of a silhouette of a tree. And the silhouette, when I looked closer, looked like the lush bushes, the trees, the leaves rather of the tree, kind of resembles that of like a curly-haired fro. The trunk of the tree just resembled like a slender neck. And there was a butterfly perfectly placed right in the middle of the tree trunk. And instantly, I just thought that represented the throat chakra. And so then in that moment, it became clear. The logo God was giving me was that very much of a silhouette of a woman and very much the silhouette of a tree, and both were me. And when I think about what trees represent, biblically speaking, I'm drawn to my very favorite verse in Psalms that talks about trees planted along the riverbank that produce delicious fruit in every season. I'm thinking about what the tree represents in the Bible when it comes to life and growth. All the growth that I had been doing in my own life. The powerful works that God was doing within my life as a result of just seeking Him first. I'm thinking about the tree of life, the tree in the Garden of Eden. I'm thinking about how trees represent wisdom and knowledge. The tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? Obedience versus disobedience. I'm also led to think about how trees represent stability and strength and how they just symbolize endurance. Also, God's provision. Trees represent God's shade, God's promises of fruit, sustenance that come by way of His blessings. And to think that God Himself gave us that logo. Just everything it represents, period, has been the honor of my life. Here it is. I hold an image that God Himself created and presented as such a royal gift to go along with the name that He also gave. That's what it looks like when you collaborate with God. I often think back to how strategically placed the butterfly was on the tree and how it represented, in my mind, the throat chakra, which, ding, 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 if you're going to do a podcast, it's all about free expression and expressing yourself authentically. And so the butterfly served as a reminder of what was to come, because the podcast would not come to fruition for more than a year later, but it was a sign of showing certainly what was to come. As I express myself freely just in life, as I opened my throat chakra, God was certainly preparing me for the work we're doing now on this platform. And do we need to get into what the butterfly represents, right? Like transformation, renewal, growth, everything we are. I could not have came up with, thought about any of it on my own. It was only because I yielded to God. I yielded to His will over mine. I didn't force the logo early on with the heart-shaped globe. I didn't sit down and bounce off a million names. No, one name. Straight from heaven into my mind came to me at a time when I didn't even know I would need a name. But God, the whole time, unhurried, was just giving me one little nugget that He knew I would certainly need not too long after. So when He finally dropped the big reveal, which was this podcast, how could I say no? When I looked up, I had everything. I had the name. I had the logo. I had my throat chakra wide open. I had the love and the revering of God could not say no. Thank you, God, for collaborating with little old me. So I want to ask you, who are you collaborating with? There's no greater collaboration than the one with the Most High. For God's sake, yield to that divine wisdom. Yield to those little hunches, those nudges. When things seem like it's just force, like the original logo I was working on, leave it. Don't spin your wheels. Don't spin your energy. Let it go. If it feels like force, and we talked about this on our episode 50, let it go. It must feel like ease. And there was nothing easier to come up with a logo but to allow God to give me it as He showed it to me day after day, just going through life, building up to the great reveal. That is your logo. I want to ask you, I want to encourage you. God is knocking on your doorstep right now. He is speaking through the depths of you. You hear Him, but you're questioning it. Do yourself a favor. Do yourself a service. Allow Him to lead. Allow Him to give you what you need. You do not know better than He. I repeat it. You and your team do not know better than He. All creativity comes from Him. All the creativity that bubbles up inside of us, and those of us that are just privileged enough to stand back and let it come out, the great poets, the great writers, the incredible artists, the singers, the actors, the ones that open up fully and yield to the divine that's within them. And we wonder why they have excelled so far. We wonder why they hold the Oscars. We wonder why they get the Grammys. We wonder why they have produced priceless art in museums. We wonder why their books sit on the shelves of New York Times best-selling list. We wonder why the world knows their name. Why, you say? Because they have cracked open and allowed the divine to guide. Whether they call it God, the universe, their highest self, whatever they put a label on it, it is still at the source, God. And they have understood how to master and allow this source through. Will you collaborate with your source? I pray that you do. Thank you so much for joining me on this very special episode 51. Thank you, God, for revealing to me through the writings of this special book that I cannot wait to share with the world. Thank you for just showing me how wonderful you are. And thank you for subscribing to our show. Your subscribes, your follows, your shares, your reviews put us in the position to make this platform, your platform, my platform, God's platform, more recognizable. I thank you for being a part of the process of helping us do that. One day I will be writing about our founders, the ones that jumped on the ultimate love letter early on. This is early, and we are making headway. We are growing beautifully. For that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Until next time, love yourself and love others. We'll chat again soon. Bye for now.